Oil spills and how they impact the environment by Michael Rodriguez, candidate number 0960, Hudson High School, Florida. What we will be covering. We will be covering how they affect us, how they affect the environment, and how to fix the problem of oil spills in the environment. Words for this are going to be oil spills and oil. Oil is a viscous liquid derived from petroleum, especially for the use of lubricant and/or fuel. Oil spills is the accidental release of liquid petroleum or hydrocarbons into the environment, often into marine areas. These are both defined by NOAA.gov, which is a governmental organization, so it's known to be true, and the Oxford Dictionary. How do oil spills happen? Exploring causes and what happens after. Large oil spills are major dangerous disasters. These tend to happen when pipelines break or big oil tanker ships get sunk. They can also happen because of drilling operations that go wrong, thanks to mismanagement or lack of expertise between the crew members. Consequences to ecosystems and economies can be felt for decades and years after they occur, after a large oil spill happens. How it affects the environment. Large-scale oil spills affect the environment by causing mass death between the animal life in the area. This can lead to suffocation of the animals affected, where oil gets into the gills or lungs of the animal in question and then causes breathing difficulties, which the animal will then spend slowly dying on the ocean floor to eventually wash up on the shore. Another thing is, thanks to the constant death after an oil spill, many animals run out of food since prey has been wiped out by the spill and slowly choking out. Many large predators do end up starving due to a lack of food being left. Another thing that can occur is with these larger animals is blindness, thanks to the oil getting into the earth, making it hard to see, and if that isn't removed in quick succession, the animal will eventually go blind and no longer be able to see, hence not being able to hunt, which means they starve to death. As you can see in the picture here, this is a very sad thing to happen. An endangered species of smaller cetacean whale is seen dead on the shore. These are incredibly rare. They are incredibly rare and endangered, and the fact that a lot of them have been lost thanks to oil spills is incredibly saddening. Oil spills in the Gulf of Mexico and in Florida. The biggest one of these to happen was the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, where on April 20th, 2010, the Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded and sank in the Gulf of Mexico, resulting in the largest marine oil spill in U.S. history, killing 11 workers and releasing an estimated 3.19 million barrels and pounds of oil into the surrounding waters. An estimated 82,000 birds and 6,000 sea turtles and up to 25,000 marine animals all slowly suffocated and died thanks to this oil spill. This absolutely destroyed the natural ecology of the area. This information is also provided by NOAA, a trusted government organization. Oil spills in the Galapagos. The spill occurred on January 16, 2001, approximately 870 yards off San Cristobal Island, one of the Galapagos Islands. Over 100 animals were affected during the spill. Nearly 200,000 gallons of diesel were all poured into the surrounding waters. The spill spread over 200 miles of water that were all affected by this, killing hundreds of endangered marine life that are only found in the Galapagos and are on the brink of extinction. Important animals like marine iguanas who keep the local equality in check and keeping certain kelps and algae in check, not allowing them to spread beyond their natural amounts. In Iraq and the surrounding areas. During the 1991 Gulf War, Iraq forces intentionally released a massive amount of oil into the Persian Gulf, creating the largest oil spill in history, estimated at 11 million barrels, to prevent a potential amphibious landing by the enemy forces in the area. This again destroyed the balances of animal life, and as you can see in the picture, was absolutely awful. Several people lost their lives thanks to this, and millions of fishermen and people whose lives depend on the ocean were affected, as they need to live off of the local animals, and if the animals are wiped out, they have no means of a living, especially in this area where the countries aren't as rich when it comes to the lower to middle class. Global effect of oil spills. Oil spills affect the ocean as a whole, even if one happens, as that oil gets transported across the planet thanks to ocean currents, as well as animals who migrate like whales and other cetaceans, where they could bring residue from the oil across the ocean, or die in areas they shouldn't, feeding certain animals they shouldn't with their corpses, and a lot of ammonia spikes happen, which then result in a red tide. Mass aquatic animal death has been known to be a factor in destabilization of ocean ecologies. This affects the entire planet as a whole, as several millions of people depend on the ocean for their livelihoods and to make a living. And this permanently can affect them, as there is no real way of completely getting rid of the oil. You can see here that this is the total amount of area that has been covered by oil thanks to oil spills in this graph. You can see it slowly rise during certain parts of the year where oil traffic is more common and more oil spills tend to happen. To address oil spills, solutions include using contained booms as well as berms to stop the flow of oil. But the biggest thing that can be done is government work. Policies can help stop oil spills from happening in the first place if companies are required to disclose how much work they are putting into stopping them from happening, as well as forcing them to hire more safety protocols and people to handle those safety protocols. This really needs to be tackled by the government, as nobody else really has the power over these companies to stop them from just pushing things like oil spills under the rug. There are some drawbacks to some of those solutions. A big drawback is to some of these solutions of things like oil booms is the fact that the booms are basically burning the oil off of the water, but that does release carbon emissions that affect the planet as a whole, causing even more environmental damage to fix one environmental failure. Oil can also never be fully removed from oceans, and beams only stop them from moving further. Government legislation does take a while, but it's really the only thing we have that can stop this from happening again. In conclusion, government legislation needs to be made to help regulate these companies who are causing oil spills to happen thanks to malpractice and a failure to properly oversee their tankers and their rigs. The government really does need to step in to help fix these problems. It's getting worse and worse with every year and every new oil spill. Eventually, you, me, and everyone else in the world will never be able to look at their oceans and spend time in them and be able to go into the ocean. I mean, would you want to look at an ocean that's covered in oil and dead cetaceans and animals you find cute? No, you wouldn't. That could seriously affect the economy. Bibliography.